On today's episode of Locked On Wild with Freddy Gaudreau gone, who the heck's going to center the fourth line?
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we're going to talk about the fourth line. Who's going to center the fourth line now that Freddy Gaudreau is gone? Leaves a little bit of a hole in the lineup. We'll also take a look at some other names that could potentially be moved off the Minnesota Wild roster. And with the draft coming up tomorrow, we'll just discuss what the Minnesota Wild do with no first-round picks. What do you do on day one if you're not picking in round one? My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, host of Seth on Sports, and credentialed media member, joined by Jay Homuth, one of the regulars here on Locked On Wild. And Jay, it's funny because you and I were talking yesterday in setting this up, and we're like, could the Wild do something, make some sort of a move to at least kind of get things started? Lo and behold, Freddy Gaudreau has been traded, which leaves some ripple effects, but it at least gets the process started. And I don't know about you, but to me, this definitely seems like the precursor to another move or two that are coming by the Wild.
Yeah, the moves, like, it's a precursor for sure, but we don't know if it's going to be another trade or if it's going to be some signings. Obviously, you want centers, and now you just got rid of one for a fourth-round draft pick, so it's not like you got one back unless you take a home run hit on that draft pick, or you package that as something else. But yeah, so right now, centers, obviously, we don't know about Rossi yet. I mean, there's still time's ticking, so either this weekend he'll go or next Tuesday you can sign an offer sheet. I firmly believe that the reason we got rid of Freddie was to open up a little bit of cap space to get him on that Marty Nakis type deal, 2x7, maybe punt away the contract next March. But yeah, I'm not really sure what if Billy's been so stern on, not wanting any type of futures back and wanting a replacement. The GMs are on the league. They understand that the cap's going up, so they're not in too much of a hurry to get rid of those current players now that are on contract. So they're looking forward, like they want to give up futures. So and obviously the Wild don't have a lot of leverage in the situation. They put him on the fourth line in the playoffs. Teams know that they don't like his size. They don't trust him. So I don't know. I mean, Bill Guerin's done a lot of things with leverage against him, like getting Brock Faber and Liam Ogren for Kevin Fiala. But he got away with that one. I don't think that he has the leverage here, and I don't know what a trade would look like. And if it happens, it would be tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I really don't know because teams are only going to want to give up futures right now. And even Buffalo, it was reported today, Russo was saying that, the Wild had Rossi and a potential another player on the roster and maybe even a draft pick. And the Sabres said no, but that's Kevin Adams. Kevin Adams, I don't know what's going on in Buffalo, but so I don't know. I really don't know what the return would be. I don't know what the precursors for. I know it was about Freddie and it turned into Marco. I think the whole summer's been about Marco, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Bill Guerin said as much that GMs just are not willing to part with rostered players right now. So taking futures on really doesn't do you any good unless you find a team that is willing to take them. And really the only team that is willing to take on futures at this point or willing to move players off their roster is Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburgh is the only team that we really know has outwardly said, yeah, we're open for business, because they're a mess. And so they're trying to retool this on the fly during the final couple of years of Sidney Crosby's career. But who's really gonna help you at a second line?
Ricard Raquel, Brian Rust. Like, you don't really want. I mean, I don't want. Maybe 6 years ago, I want Brian Rust. Maybe 3 years ago, I want Ricard Raquel. But I don't know if that's because we know what Marco could turn into, and I think that's better than both of those players. So I don't know you could get both of them back. I mean, maybe you could, but I also know that Brian Rust is probably done in 2 years, and Ricard Raquel is probably declining. So you don't want them. You're not going to get Crosby for Rossi. Like, that's duh. I don't think Crosby would even want to play here. If he goes anywhere, it'll be Colorado because he's best friends with McKinnon. We don't need defensemen. I don't know. You want Rutger McGroarty? I mean, we almost got him last year for our first round pick, and he ended up going right to the A. So there's nobody on Pittsburgh that is really enticing for Marco Rossi.
Yeah, honestly, it would have to be something like that. But again, Bill Guerin's been pretty adamant that he wants players that are going to help right now,
right?
Because of how outwardly ridiculous it is to trade a early 20s center who just put up a 60-point season. Like, you have to have a return that justifies this move in the first place, and it just doesn't seem like any team out there is willing to do it, unless for some reason Kevin Adams gets trade drunk and decides, yeah, I took an undercut in value for JJ Peterka. I'll definitely do the same thing for Tage Thompson, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, if Tage is, I know, like, it was reported about a month ago that the players around that core, they did talk with Buffalo's management and kind of express their concerns for the future. What are we going to do? And I doubt that the trade yesterday made Tage and Rasmus smile, but like the return, but I think Tage will not finish his career in Buffalo. Rasmus Dahlin will not finish his career in Buffalo. Owen Power will not. But I think they're probably going to give it another season or two until that cap flies up and then go somewhere else. But I don't see them moving Tage now, because I think that would be a complete forfeit. Unless they want Gavin McKenna. Who knows? Like, next year, we know that the next Connor McDavid's in the draft next year. So they only come around every once in a while. This year's not too special, so that's why I don't think, like, even the Wild trading Rossi to Utah for the fourth round or the fourth overall pick, I wouldn't even like that. And the Wild have never picked top 5 ever, I don't think. But who are you gonna? I mean, the only person I would pick in this year's draft top 5 is probably Caleb Desnoyers. I think he's probably the sleeper. I think I said his last name right. It's spelled like Desnoyers, but it's Canadian, so it's Desnoyers or something. I think he's the only one, but then you got to hope that he's putting up 60, 70 points in year 3. And if he's not, you lost the trade. Like, I don't know.
You know what this is starting to feel like to me? This is starting to feel like a 3-teamer at the trade deadline.
That's what I was thinking about. I was coming up with little concepts in my notepad a couple of days ago with what you could do, like who you could. I don't know. It's way more complicated than we thought it was going to be. At the end of the season, I was like, who's not going to want Marco Rossi? But then what happened in the playoffs happened, and I was like, now everyone's wondering, why was he playing on the fourth line? And I go on Twitter and I see fans, why would we get rid of Peterka for a player that the Wild that got fourth line minutes in the playoffs? And I'm like, I understand. I would probably be thinking the same thing.
Yep. No, this feels like underwhelming returns right now. And I think Bill Guerin said this much too, is that, teams are going to be trying to go for it this year. They may fall out of it during the season. They obviously will fall out of it during the season. And at that point, teams will kind of punt to try to get themselves in position for that 2026 draft. So this feels like you take advantage of a team that's having a bad start to the season. You pull a veteran piece off that team, like a big impact veteran piece.
Like a Tage Thompson.
Yeah. Something along those lines. You send Rossi to somebody and you send the futures to the team that you acquired the veteran from, or the impact player. It feels like the more that this kind of goes on and nothing happens, unless some team absolutely swoops in at the 11th hour with a deal that you just can't refuse, feels like he's going to be on the roster come day one.
I think so. And it's like the reason you can't trade for futures now is because it's July. Everybody thinks they're going to win the Stanley Cup in July.
Yeah.
So you need the Sabres, or you need the Penguins, or you need the Blackhawks to start, I don't know, 18-32-5 to be like, oh, maybe we're not going to win the Stanley Cup. And then you can get rid of those futures. Because right now, everyone thinks that they're going to make the playoffs next year. Ottawa fans are on Twitter saying they're going to win the Stanley Cup. And no shade. I love Locked On Ottawa. They're cool guys. But that's how the offseason goes. Like in the NFL, how many times have the Bears won the offseason and then finished dead last in the NFC North? Like everyone thinks they're going to do good. So you can't get rid of. Everyone's going to hold on to their like cornerstone player until the fire starts. And for certain teams like Buffalo, the fire is going to start late November. That's when you pounce on it. And then like you said, acquiring mid-season, we have set 18 million in cap space now for trading Freddy.
Yep.
You don't just spend 18 million in the summer. Like you need to keep about 7 open for the season to start, because you don't want to go in with $1 million in cap space and be handcuffed again, not be able to make that trade that you want. I don't like you don't spend 18 million this summer. You get that 4C, you get another 3C, maybe sign Rossi to 2x7 because you have no choice. You don't want to lose him for nothing. And maybe get another scoring wing, have about 5 million left in cap space, and then see what happens come March. And then, like you said, punt away that contract, bring in, I'm not going to say any names. I don't know, just bring in John Doe. I don't know, somebody, but there's a lot that comes with than just forcing a trade tomorrow. I don't know.
Bring in somebody from the Eastern Conference from whichever team has the most shocking start to the season and is like, we need to reevaluate where we're at.
Yeah.
Maybe when the New York Islanders decide for the 50th time that they're going to try to make the playoffs and they fail, maybe that's where you go get Matt Barzal. Maybe that's where something like that happens.
JG Pageau. I love that 62% on the dot. That's like,
yeah, that'd be nice.
I don't think the Wild have ever had a player that was in the 60s.
No, pretty much the only player that they've had that's been consistently in the 50s was Koivu. That's pretty much it.
Coyle was pretty good. I think Coyle was pretty decent.
Yeah, true.
But other than that, like, there's never been like, oh, we need someone to win a faceoff. Who are we going to put there? Like, and then you could have a little insurance. JG Pageau can kill penalties too, and I think he's a great replacement for Freddie. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, it probably only takes a 3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick to get him. But there's more to it, obviously. So
yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because you feel like you got 17.7 million in cap space, so it feels like they'll maybe take a swing at somebody like Besser, but it all depends on if he wants to come here. Like you can throw money at people, but it's entirely dependent on if they want to come here. Like they need to be willing to go to Minnesota, and I know he's from here, but
Yeah, that's the one thing Minnesota fans need to understand. And if you're listening right now, there's more to it than he grew up in Burnsville, played in Burnsville, families, and there's more to it than that. It's not just like a guarantee, always a free agent, come back home. Things happen in people's lives that maybe push them away from returning to a place. It's just, and who knows? Like Brock knows he knows the Carolina Hurricanes are going to throw money at him. He knows Winnipeg's going to throw money at him. He knows Ottawa's going to throw money at him. Does he want to stay in Canada? Does he want to go down south? Like it's not. I don't know. It's not like if he wanted to come back to Minnesota, he probably would have been in Minnesota already. 2 straight deadline years, the Wild were, Brock Besser. If he wanted to be in Minnesota, he'd already be in Minnesota. I've been trying to tell people that. But, I mean, again, obviously there's a small chance it could happen. Nothing's ever 0%, but I wouldn't depend on Brock Besser's homecoming on July 1st. Again, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I think he's a great second-line wing for Minnesota, but it's not a penciled in guarantee that a player from Minnesota is going to come to Minnesota.
Well, let's take a look at some options here. The Wild are going to need at least one center to add to the mix. So when we come back, we'll take a look at some potential names of players they could kick the tires on to fill out that 4C spot. Plenty more to come on today's episode of Locked On Wild right after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, little merchandise, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Plus, Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming Major League Baseball game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We will have draft coverage for you coming up here this weekend. Minnesota Wild, as of right now, no first-round picks, and I don't expect that to change, but we'll keep you up to date on who they end up picking in round 2 and beyond. Just one second-round pick, and then 2 fourths, a 5th, and a 6th for the Wild this year. Now, Jay, before we get to a little draft discussion, let's talk about free agency. And now there is a definite need for a center on this roster. You've got some names in mind. I've got a couple of names in mind as well. So let's start with some of your potential targets. Who would you like to see the Wild kick the tires on to fill out, at least, because here's the other part of this too. I think at this point, you've got Joel Eriksson Ek, you have Marco Rossi until he's either moved or he's on the roster. Does this make it more likely that Ryan Hartman is he just a center going forward? At this point, you've also got Danila Yurov in the mix. So do you think he'll play? Do you think Hartman will factor into the center equation at all, maybe as a backup, or do you think it's likely that he just stays primarily on the wing?
Ryan Hartman will be on the wing. I think Danilo Yurov is going to start the season probably third line center and possibly work his way into the top six, but it would be a winger. But he would not be a center in the top six to start. I know they want to work him into a center. I think they're pretty excited about what he could do at center. But I think to get his feet wet in the NHL, obviously he was playing with grown men in the KHL and he was doing pretty good. This year was a little bit of a down year, but I think they're going to start him at the wing. Ryan Hartman, he's one of those guys it's always nice to have wingers that have center experience, like say it's third period, late January game. I don't know. And our newly acquired 3C gets kicked out of the faceoff dot and Hartman gets to go take it. Like, it's always nice to have some experience, but I think Hartman probably is better on the wing, maybe center on penalty kill. But I think he'll probably stick in the wing, and I think Yurov will start on the wing, but he will probably by the end of the season he'll be playing center, depending on what happens.
So let's talk about who are some targets that you would like to see at least looked at for the center position.
The one that I hope the Wild can acquire the most, and probably just for a solid 4C spot, he'd be very cheap. It is Radek Faksa. Played for Dallas forever. Recently played for St. Louis this past year. He's not going to get you 50 points on the fourth line, but he can get you 25, 30, 35 points for about $1 million. And I think this year he finished almost at 60% on the dot. He's really good on faceoffs. He's cheap. He's gone on playoff runs before. He's never won anything like a cup, but he's gone to the West Finals a couple times. He played on that Dallas team in 2020. Was very big that year. He's physical. I really like JG Pageau. Obviously, you'd have to acquire him in a trade. His cap hits way higher than what Radek Faksa's would be. Mikey Easemont, I know everybody in the Wild staff loves him. All the Wild fans that I've seen on Twitter want him. Good speedster. Connor Dewar, familiar name. I think he'd be great on the fourth line. And then if we're kind of going more middle six centers, I think the Wild maybe reaching out to Colorado, try to get Charlie Coyle back. He's good on the dot, big body. I think I've seen a lot of Wild fans too talking about Mikhail Granlund, a return, but I think, well, actually not. I do know, I can say this with very much a lot of confidence. Bill Guerin does not like him. He kind of sees him as the same way as Rossi, where he gets knocked off the puck a lot. Yeah, he can score. He can clearly score. He's been doing it his whole career, but he's just not a player that Billy wants. And I know that pisses a lot of people off because the typical Justin Brazeau is the typical Bill Guerin player, but we're not going to have a team full of those. But yeah, Mikhail Granlund coming to Minnesota is not going to happen. It's not someone that the Wild are interested in adding. But someone like Coyle, Faksa, Sturm, another reunion there, JG Pageau, those are kind of the names that you should probably be looking for. We're not going to go get Anton Lundell or Tage Thompson like some big splash, but it's really the depth. We need that third, fourth line depth.
Well, we saw it last year with the injuries. You have guys like Devon Shore that are playing significant amounts of games at the bottom of the lineup, and it got to the point where the last two seasons you have 30-40 game stretches where your fourth line guys have like 2 points and they have maybe 5 or 6 shots on goal. Like what I need from this fourth line, I don't worry about the third line as much. The scoring is going to be the biggest issue for a third line that'll likely consist of Ryan Hartman, Marcus Foligno. Like, I don't worry about those guys as much, but I just want a fourth line that is a bunch of guys that have been in the NHL before enough to know like what is required of them. And Radek Faksa is an interesting one. He won faceoffs at a 57% clip this past season with St. Louis. He averages over an 82 game schedule. He averages 11 goals, 25 total points, 100 hits, 52.3% in the faceoff circle, and that's in about 900 faceoff attempts too. So it's not like he's getting 200 a year. Like he's taking a lot of draws. So I think that would certainly be worth looking into, to just try to bring a presence. Like I talked about it once the season was done. Like you got to find some sort of an identity for that fourth line and find players that embody that, so that you can deploy that line during games and not have to worry like, is this combination of players going to be able to do anything?
Yeah, and that's why I really like Nico Sturm. He understands that he is a bottom six player. He doesn't want to be that superstar. He doesn't want to get those 20 minutes a night. He knows his role, and like you said, you got to find the identity, and you need players that are going to understand like, I'm only here to play 10 minutes a night. But when I'm on the ice, I need to shoot, I need to hit, I need to do anything I can to, like, you're on the ice right now because Kirill's taking a breather, because X taking a breather. Like, you need to accept your role, play to your identity. And I like Nico Sturm. He's like that. Radek Faksa has been a career third line guy. He understands that. Sometimes you get guys like I don't know, like you treat Freddy Gaudreau, you throw him on the second line for 30 games, and then you stuff him on the fourth line. Like that, what do you think that does to their
Yeah.
Now in their head, so I don't know. You need guys that want to play those minutes, and that's why I think Brad Marchand might stay in Florida, because if he goes and takes 8.5 or 9 million somewhere, he's going to have to play top 6 minutes, and he's getting older. He can stay in Florida and play 13 minutes a night and probably win another cup. Like there's like, I don't know, it's like almost vacation for him. But I don't know. You need to have people that are going to understand their role and not cause an issue in the locker room or demand more minutes. Or you just need to have, like you said, that strong identity on that fourth line that knows what they're here to do.
Yeah, it too many years it's been a collection of guys. Like, well, these guys aren't really third line players. They're not second line or top line players. So we just have to put them all on the fourth line and hope that it works out. Like go with speed, go with a combination of players on the fourth line that are just tenacious defensively. Just go with something that you can kind of lump together as one set skill and say, we know this is what our fourth line is going to give us. And when things are going tough, we can go to that in a pinch to kind of get us back on track. Yeah,
and there's a chance. I mean, he was playing second line wing all season, but Mojo at $800,000 is going to be probably the 13th forward if the offseason is done correctly. I don't think he should even be playing third line minutes. I think he's a solid fourth liner. You get a quick center, you get Mojo. That's a speedy fourth line. That's more disciplined on defense than Brendan Gaunce, Devin Shore, and Jacob Lauko out there just flopping around the ice. Like that was always terrible to watch. But I don't know. You need I don't know. Yeah, you need like it all goes back to having identity. Are you going to be physical? Or are you going to be fast? Are you going to score? Are you going to play defense? Not, oh, let's just throw these three together, see if they can do it. Oh, let's throw these three together, see if they can do it. Oh, let's call up this guy. Let's throw him out there, see if he can do it. I don't know. So I'm hoping we find that identity and get back to my favorite fourth line in Wild history was Shaw, Dewar, and Duhaime. That line had an identity. They would go out and they would get 3 scoring chances a game. You're like, oh, fourth line's out there. You better be careful.
And they played penalty kill like they were great at it. They got chances shorthanded. They knew their role. They excelled at it. They didn't try to be anything more than they were. And the last couple of years, it's been like, well, I don't know. We don't really have another spot to put these guys, so let's just chuck them here and hope that it works. So we'll find out how things play out. But I just wanted to pose a couple of questions, Jay, to finish. Including, do we think anybody else gets moved off the roster? We'll discuss that as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you are also building wealth. My favorite part is I no longer have to sift through different apps, monitoring my credit, monitoring my checking account, my savings account, monitoring my investments. You can do it all in one place, one screen on Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. And once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We've got another episode coming up for you later today. We'll be taking a look at a few additional names ahead of the second round of the draft. Again, you get a second round pick. You get 2 fourths, a fifth, and a sixth. Not going to go crazy with the draft this year, but there will be some names that can at least get stashed in the prospect pool. Jay, let's discuss the possibility of other Minnesota Wild players getting moved. This was an interesting one, moving Freddy, because Freddy was, I think, very well liked in the locker room. And it signifies exactly what I think Minnesota Wild fans have been waiting to see from Bill Guerin. Not that this was like a earth-shattering trade by any means. Like, this wasn't a shocker. But it was a tough choice. It was a tough decision for Bill Guerin because Freddie was one of his guys. And you've got to make tough choices if you are going to be a successful general manager in the NHL. You've got to be willing to do what Bill Zito did and trade Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk when your team was a President's Trophy winning team. And you said, no, this isn't good enough. We have to be better. Like, you have to do whatever it takes in order to get your team to be a legitimate cup contender. Do you think anybody else gets moved off of this Wild roster in order to either free up spots or utilized in a trade to bring in a bigger fish?
I mean, the only names that pop up would be Rossi, Guerin, and I don't know. I think Ryan Hartman saved his career on the Wild in the playoffs. I don't see that they would want to trade him after that. I think they want to see maybe if they can convince him to kind of play how he played in the playoffs next year. Because if you get that Ryan Hartman for a year, you keep him. You don't trade that Ryan Hartman.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a Sam Bennett type player. Yeah, 40 points, 50 points regular season, but in the playoffs, he turns it on. You can't trade your check. You gave up a king's ransom to get him, which I really believe was very dumb.
Well, here, let me pose this to you because this is one that I've been thinking of, and it fits in with the acquisition of David Jiricek. Jared Spurgeon and Jonas Brodin are not going to be around forever. They are getting towards the end of their contracts. And I mean, let's just put it out there. Jonas Brodin has missed some games over the last few seasons. He's getting closer to being like a 60 game a year guy. And at some point, you get to the point where is it worthwhile to have him play 55 or 60 games, or to lean on a younger player to fill that spot that can get you to 70, 75 games? Do you think we're at that point with Spurgeon or Brodin, or do you think it's more likely that we see those guys play to the duration of their contract, or at least get closer to the end of the deal than we are currently at?
I think you can't flip them now. I think Spurgeon will play here his whole career. Brodin, though, if they do trade him, you can't trade him now. I think teams understand that. I mean, everyone knows what happens in the league. It's not. I mean, 30 is a big league, but people know what goes on. Other GMs know that he's kind of. I mean, he's older and
he's hurt. From what I have heard, he's hurt right now.
Hurt right now. Yeah, he's hurt right now. But Brodin's the type of player that you trade at the deadline to another contender. So like,
yeah,
if they need a little bit more shutdown defense and they're hanging on to a wild card one spot and you can do it, you give Brodin for Keandre Miller. You give New York that more defensive piece to push for that playoff spot. You get someone bigger in return. But I don't think you can do it now because teams are just going to be like, why would we want him now? He's probably going to play 50 games next year. Yeah, I think a lot of the pieces that the Wild have to trade are all deadline pieces. They're not summer pieces.
Yeah, I agree. And, the interesting thing, too, is this loophole was officially closed in the new collective bargaining agreement, which I will probably get into more with Alex on Monday. Mm-hmm. So that I think will kick in for the 2026-2027 season or beyond. Maybe you just have Jonas Brodin play the LTIR loophole this year and get yourself $7 million additional dollars to play with in cap space at the deadline.
If they didn't do it with Ek or Kaprizov, I don't think they'll do it with anybody. I don't know, because I think some people are too honest. I think Bill Guerin's one of them.
And it is a legitimate concern, because if there's one team that was going to get dinged for exploiting that loophole, it would be
Minnesota.
The Wild. Yeah.
100%. And also, now that it's over, if the Wild would have held Kaprizov out when he could have played, he would have not signed a deal this summer. I can tell everybody that right now. I was talking with somebody, I guess you call him my source, even though you guys all know who my source is. If they would have stashed him, I know he only came back and played the last, 3 games?
Yeah.
But if you would have stashed Kaprizov on LTIR to get that cap space open and told him when he felt healthy that he couldn't play because you needed his cap, I'm telling you, he would have been so pissed off. He would not have resigned, and it would have been terrible. So everyone was saying, put Kaprizov on LTIR. You couldn't. They talked about it with him. He would have been very upset if he was not allowed to play, because Kaprizov is one of the most competitive humans on the planet. He wants to play any chance he can get. So the moment he was healthy, if he wasn't able to play because of some loophole that they were trying to do to gain an advantage, it would not have went well. So that's over. They didn't do it. Kaprizov loves Minnesota. He should resign. I don't think it's going to be 8 years. I think it's probably going to be 4 years. But regardless, that's another 5 more years of Kaprizov, so we'll be all right.
Accurate. Yeah. Well, I'd like it to be 8, but honestly, 4 is not bad either. 4 gives you enough of a chance to kind of see where things are going before you commit for the final 5 or so.
Yeah. And that's why, and that's what Russo was talking with Anthony about a couple days ago. It's almost better if Kaprizov doesn't want that 8-year deal. I mean, obviously, I'd rather he signs the 8-year deal. I just want him to be on the Wild forever. But if Kaprizov does a 3-year deal that keeps him here for 4 more years, that's telling Billy, okay, I'm here for 4 more years. Let's win. And if you still can't get out of the first round in 4 years, we lose them. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, that's, you gotta win when you got a guy like that.
Yes, you do. Well, we're getting close. There will be some action, I'm sure, during the draft, but there's going to be a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of league stuff, I think, that happens right around July 1st. So we'll stay tuned for it, and we'll keep you up to date, of course, right here on Locked On Wild. That's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in as you do each and every day of the week. Make sure to leave a like and make sure to hit that subscribe button before you head out for the day. We've got you covered every single day of the week with episodes every Monday through Friday right here on Locked On Wild. We are your team each and every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.